Hey pups, RP here, and welcome back to another fanfiction reading. Now this one is going to be a little bit different because I wrote this fanfiction myself, and a little bit of backstory before we dive right into this fanfiction, as well as some trivia. This fanfiction was inspired by an author on fanfiction.net named CuddlyFan, and I have done fan art for her fanfictions in the past. If you look all the way back at my DeviantArt profile, just type in Five Nights at Freddy's in the gallery, and you'll probably see some fan art on there of her fanfictions, for her fanfictions. And this story was inspired by her fanfiction, Five Nights at Freddy's Baby Boom. If you guys have heard of her, have followed her on fanfiction.net, you will know that this fanfiction, that her fanfiction of Baby Boom was probably one of the best fanfictions she ever wrote. And she was more well known for writing Five Nights at Freddy's age regression fanfictions. And if you don't know what age regression is, I recommend you look it up. But if you're too lazy to look it up, then I will probably describe it for you in the best definition that I can. What age regression is, it's either the mental or physical regression of someone when they're regressing into the state of a toddler, a baby, or a young child. And most people use age regression for a lot of things. Some use it for coping with stress, coping with abuse, just some people use that as a coping mechanism. Some people do it just for fun, and some people do it for whatever reasons they want to. And if you guys know me at all, you know that I am probably the most open-minded person in the world that I know so far. And this fanfiction, and unfortunately CuddlyFan had deleted all her fanfictions, but I thought they were amazing. And she inspired me to write this fanfiction, but this was a very long time ago, and if you guys are wondering, I will be writing more chapters of this story. Chapter 2 has been completed, and I'm still trying to work on chapter 3 right now. And of course, we're just going to read chapter 1. And if you guys want me to read more chapters of this fanfiction, then please let me know in the comments below. And without further ado, let's get right into the fanfiction. Enjoy, everyone! Mike Schmidt entered the pizzeria a little bit later than he usually would, helping out the family and doing other things outside of his work life having to do with Freddy Fazbear's. He figured Fritz and Jeremy would let him off the hook tonight. He entered the office to see Fritz and Jeremy, a bit more cheerful. The two boys waved at him. "Hey, Mike." Mike smiled and waved back. "Hey, guys. Sorry I'm late." Fritz smirked. "No worries, Mike. Tomorrow's payday. So we'll let you off the hook tonight. You're hardly ever late to work, so this is probably a first." Mike chuckled. "Yeah, Doll needed a bit of help. She runs the daycare center and needed help to get some supplies." Jeremy giggled. "Well, that explains it." Fritz chuckled. "Yeah, and tonight explains our cheerfulness." The boys nodded. "Well, we better get to work and try to get a raise, hopefully," Fritz stated. Mike nodded and got to his job of watching the cameras. Jeremy did his night watch duty, as usual, and Fritz looked at both ends of the office to make sure nothing could get inside and possibly kill them. Mike kept his job and continued to survey the cameras, and making sure the animatronics were in order. Only to see the marionette wasn't inside its box, surprisingly enough. The music box was already set on repeat for the entire night and already playing. This confused Mike, but he shrugged it off and needed a few bolts or nuts screwed in, or the spirit possessing it was somewhat restless, and it wanted to wander a bit while the music box played throughout the pizzeria. He shrugged and continued on to his camera duty. Sometimes nothing but static would be appearing. He sighed in annoyance, thinking it was the puppet doing this again, like it always does. He shook his head and looked at Fritz and Jeremy. "We need to call someone about repairing or removing the puppet and putting it in storage or something." Fritz rubbed the back of his neck. "I don't know. The kids do kinda like it, but it does get a little annoying after a while. It's really up to our manager." Jeremy nodded in agreement. "He's right, Schmidt." Mike looked back at the camera, to the Pirate Kids Cove. Renaming it for Foxy and Mangle was a rather nice change. Well, I guess so. Besides, it's probably just got a screw loose or some. Hey, where's Foxy? He looked at all the areas as he clicked on the tablet to view the entire pizzeria. Foxy was surprisingly nowhere to be found. Of course, he could only figure out the noise in the kitchen could have been him, though he doubts it. Chica was the only one who hung out in the kitchen more than any one of the members of the Fazbear gang. And Mango was in the basement, already fully repaired. He got up from his post and handed Jeremy the tablet. Boys, I'm going to see if Foxy's still in the cove and just playing hide and seek to spook me or something. It always happens whenever I go on watch duty. He remembered once when it happened. He always knew Foxy didn't mean it. The two did have fun and laugh sometimes whenever he got spooked. He didn't mean it, of course. Plus, it was April Fool's Day that one time. He took the flashlight from Jeremy as the two switched out the tablet for a flashlight. Just be careful, Mike, Jeremy warned. Mike scoffed. Jeremy, careful is my middle name. Mike, careful, Schmidt. He smirked as he walked out of the workspace. He exited the office and headed towards Pirate Kid's Cove. Surprised to see Foxy wasn't there to spook him. Foxy? The game's over, Pirate Boy. Come on out. He waited for a response. No answer. He began to grow anxious. Foxy, this isn't funny. Don't come any closer than you already are, lad! The Pirate Fox shouted from the cove. Something seemed off. His voice seemed to sound more younger than the original gruffly pirate voice that echoed within the fox's throat. It was clearly obvious something was wrong and out of place. Mike ignored Foxy's commands. Foxy, come on. There's something wrong here, I know it. Just come out here and tell me or show me at the very least. Please. For me. Foxy groaned. Mike seemed to play the begging game very well, even if he couldn't top his niece's tactic of begging when it came to something being wrong or out of place. He poked out only a small amount of what seemed to be a snout from the torn part of the curtains to hide himself from the rest of the world. Just don't laugh. Promise an old sea fox that you won't laugh at me, lad. Mike smiled. I promise, Foxy. If I do, I apologize in advance. Foxy gulped and slowly emerged from under the ripped piece of the curtain. It came out looking younger, seeing as he didn't have his eye patch or his hook, and he seemed to be the size of an infant. With the possible age of 1, Mike gasped and covered his mouth with one of his hands, and picked up the now baby fox, getting him to a good eye level, to where he could inspect him more closely. Foxy, who did this to you? He asked, cradling Foxy in his arms. I don't know what happened, lad. One minute I'm rehearsing for the next birthday gig, and the next minute I see myself into the body of an infant. Mike looked around to see who or what caused this. No one or nothing seemed to be around the cove. I don't see anyone or anything who did it. His mind started to develop a sudden rational thought as he walked out of the cove and onto the stage. His mind began to wander, questioning if the same thing had happened to Bonnie and Freddy and Chica, maybe. He then noticed Chica, thankfully unharmed and still her same size and age. Standing in the middle of the stage. Chica! Mike cried out. Thank God! He stopped to see the chicken holding something in her arms. Small baby sounds began to fill the air along with Foxy's small sniffles and whimpers. Mike tilted his head. Chica? Is that Bonnie? Chica turned to face the man and revealed a small purple baby bunny, given the exact same likeness as Bonnie's. Mike gasped in horror. Chica, what happened to Bonnie? Chica shrugged. I don't know. How did it become an adult to a baby? Her eyes then focused on Foxy, then back at Mike. I'm guessing the same thing happened to Foxy? Mike nodded. Who would do such a thing? Could it have been Springtrap or the marionette? Mike's money was on the puppet creature. He always hated that thing. We need to find out who did this sooner or later. Chica nodded. Yes, but for now... She began, readjusting Bonnie as she cradled him closely. We need to get these two adjusted to the baby's lifestyle. Foxy crossed his arms and glared at Chica. Lass, I'll have you know that Captain Foxy ain't no barnacle-brained baby. He puffed out his chest. This will see Fox be a proud leader of the cove. Mike rolled his eyes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Foxy, but I remember you sobbing your little heart out and didn't want me to see you at this size, and if I'm not mistaken, you're the size of a baby. Foxy crossed his arms once more and growled quietly. I still be Captain of the Pirate's Cove. Mike giggled a little bit and headed back towards the office to Fritz and Jeremy. Boys, You're not gonna believe what Chica and I just found. The boys turned to Mike to see a small fox kid cradled gently in his arms. First tilted his head, and then looked at Chica, cradling a baby bunny in her arms. The two boys looked at each other, thinking the two must have robbed a petting zoo or something. This happened to Foxy and Bonnie, he said before either one could ask a single question about what they were doing with the bunny and the fox. We don't know what happened to them, nor did we find the source of it. The two boys started giggling, and in doing so, received a deceitful glare from Chica. It was one of those, how would you like it if it happened to you glare. The boys stopped giggling once the glare was given. And, Mike continued on, we're going to need some necessities, shall we call them. Foxy looked up at the guard. And by that you mean... Yes, Mike responded. Toys, clothes, diapers, stuff like that. Bonnie and Foxy's eyes widened at the statement. Please no, I'm not wearing those, Bonnie pleaded. Foxy just patted across his arms. Lad, parrots don't wear diapers, nor do they change them, he stated, still keeping his demeanor as a pirate. I'm sorry, boys, but you're going to need them. Mike's right, you two, Chica agreed. It's just so you won't have any accidents on the floor. Foxy groaned. Mates, I be trained, as it were. I don't need them. As much as I hate to disagree with you, Foxy, but you're just a kid. You're going to need them, Mike stated. I am not a kid. I am a fully grown fox, the baby fox protested. Mike sighed. Foxy, you are a kid. For now, anyways, until we find out who did this to you and Bonnie and make them use a reversal spell to turn you back to normal. But for now, you're a kid until then. Foxy patted across his arms, imitating the real behavior of an infant or a toddler even. He really hated this. He didn't want to be treated like what his physical appearance showed him as he was. He wanted to be treated like he was before he was mysteriously turned into a child. Okay, here's an idea. Mike broke the silence. The boys and I will play detective and figure out what this weird mystery is all about, while you take care of Bonnie and Foxy, Cheeks. Mike, are you sure that... I watched play detective shows and movies before, Chica, Mike said, smiling brightly, remembering a few episodes of CSI Miami and previously studying law enforcement back in his high school years. Foxy sighed and spoke with a disapproving groan. I be doomed. At least I ain't walking the plank. Mike smiled as he handed the baby fox to Chica, as she held him in her arms, and headed over back to the cove, with Mike following, to help her before he got started with this big mystery. Clearly Foxy didn't like this in the slightest, but he had to bear it until he was an adult again, or until Mike and the other guards found out who turned him and Bonnie into babies. Mike began setting up a crib and a playpen that somehow was in the back of the storage room from when the owner first found the group in a basket a very long time ago. Once it was set, Mike smiled at his handiwork. I'll call the boss, explain to him what happened, and explain the same thing to Doll, and we'll make sure that these two have everything they need. Chica grinned as she placed Foxy and Bonnie in the playpen. Thanks so much for the help, Mike. I really appreciate it. Mike chuckled. No problem, Cheeks. Jeremy Fritz and I will be in the office if you need any help. The night guard walked out of the cove and back into the office. Bonnie's ears flattened at this new predicament they were in. So, what do we do now? I mean, this has to be some weird fever dream or something, right? It be no dream, Rabbit, Foxy stated. We be little ones now, lad. Chica turned to her two new babies and smiled. After Mikey's girlfriend gets here, with the supplies, I'll put you two down for nap time, once everything gets sorted out. I ain't tired, lass. Foxy, all babies need naps, and as soon as I get the two of you diapered, it's nap time, the chicken said, wagging her finger at the little kit. The parrot's jaw dropped. Lass, you can't be serious. For the last time, I ain't no barnacle-brained baby, and I won't need that either. I be a pirate. What do I look like to you, toddler? His ears flattened once he uttered that last sentence. Don't ye dare answer that question. Foxy pouted. He hated this already. He wouldn't stand for it at all. He wanted to be an adult again. He wanted to be back to his old self again. Chica giggled and booped his nose. Aw, sounds a bit cranky, isn't he? Well, I'm sure after a nice long nap, you'll feel all better. Chica smiled and left the cove and into the kitchen. Foxy sighed and crossed his arms. Bonnie put a hand on his shoulder. Hey, don't worry, Foxy. It won't be so bad. The sooner we get this over with, the sooner we can get back to normal. Whoever turned him and Bonnie into babies had the sickest mind in the world. They clearly weren't going to live this down afterwards, when it would be finally over and done with, and they were back to their adult selves again. Foxy even wondered if Mike actually, though he wasn't that out of control. It was either Goldie, Springtrap, or even the marionette. Those three were obvious suspects to whomever did this to him and Bonnie. But for now, the thought had to be shoved aside, and they had to deal with the current situation at hand. Alrighty, I hope you guys like this little fanfiction, and if so, be sure to mega punch that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to be part of the Pupper Pack today, and be sure to ring that bell for new notifications every single time. And also, if CuddlyFan happens to be watching this video right now, CuddlyFan, you have been the biggest inspiration on me for writing fanfictions and writing stories. And your stories have really inspired me to write my own version of Baby Boom in a different format, in a different way. And if you guys have any critiques on any of my videos or anything just that, be sure to share in the comments below. And I will see you in the next one. As always, stay awesome, stay strong, and stay beautiful. And I'll see you next time, pups. Bye-bye.